Hi, I'm Gil.
And I'm Nelda.
And we're Calgary Dwelling Consultants
with Maxwell Southstar Realty. And we find quality tenants for residential property
Owners.
That's what we do.
When we're not doing this, which is what we're doing tonight.
What are we talking about tonight?
We're talking about one of our friends who lost his job, and he has a tenant who's got a 1-year fixed-term lease.
We have to back up a little bit. The tenant lived in Calgary. He got a job in BC, and then he just got laid off. So he said, "Okay, I'm going to move back home now." And we told him,
"I'm sorry, but you can't."
No. And he said, "Why not? It's my property."
We said, because a lease is a legal contract, and you have signed a fixed-term lease for 1 year. So until such time as that year is over, you can't move into your property.
Unless you buy him out.
Right. So we thought tonight we would talk about ending leases when the owner wants to end the lease, and what the rules are, because there's quite a few rules. For example, if you have a fixed-term lease
for a year, and you maybe have a tenant that you're not particularly crazy about, when the lease expires, let's say it expires on July the 31st, then you just write a notice to your tenant that says, July 31st, your tenancy ends, and I will not be renewing your lease.
Technically, you don't even have to give that notice, but you should, because it's
just a decent thing to do.
Right. We always recommend doing the decent thing. If it's a tenant who you do want to keep around, it's a good idea, like earlier than a month before, to have a conversation to see what the person's plans are. Because if they are going to leave, it gives you a chance to try to re-rent it. And you won't necessarily have the property empty for a month. So
that's a fixed-term lease.
Right.
Now, when you get into periodic leases, things get very interesting.
Did you know that there is a periodic 1-year lease?
I did not know that.
So the difference between a fixed-term lease and a periodic 1-year lease is that the assumption is that a periodic 1-year lease will renew automatically. But since it's a periodic lease, the rules change, and now you have to give notice before you can end your tenancy. In the case of a 1-year lease, periodic, that's 90 days, 3 months that you have to give them.
Yeah, it's the same thing even if they're going month to month on a periodic lease. You as a landlord have to give them 3 months notice. They as a tenant only have to give you 1 month's notice.
Right. Now in the case of a periodic lease, they would have to stay till the end of the year anyway, if it's a periodic 1-year lease. You know, in practice, I've never seen a periodic 1-year lease.
Why would you have a periodic when you could have a fixed term? And then if you have 1-year periodic lease or 1 week periodic leases, then you have to give them 1 week's notice.
Right.
So this is if you had you're renting rooms in your house, for instance, or you had a vacation property and people were signing a 1-year periodic lease, then you have to give them 1 week's notice.
Yeah. So for a 1-year periodic, 90 days. For a 1 month periodic, 90 days. For a 1 week periodic, 1 week. Now, did you know that there are only certain reasons that you can end a periodic lease?
Yes, I did know that.
And I'm going to tell you what those reasons are.
Okay, fire away. Reason number 1.
If you want to move into the house, or you have a relative who wants to move into the property.
Reason number 2.
If you have sold the property and the new owner wants to move into the property or wants a relative to move into the property.
Reason number 3.
If you have sold the property and it is a detached, semi-detached, or condo, and the new owner doesn't want there to be a lease or doesn't want the tenant in the property.
Okay.
It's a bit confusing.
Is there a 4th reason?
There is. The landlord wants to use the property it's a residential property, but the landlord wants to use it for non-residential reasons, like an office or something. There's a 5th reason.
Number 5.
The landlord is an educational institute, and the tenant no longer is, or by the time of the termination date, no longer will be, a student of that institution.
Yes. Do you remember back to your days of living in residence at university? I do. I was always moving. Happy times.
I have 2 more reasons.
7. 6. Reason number 6.
Reason number 6 is if the landlord wants to demolish the building.
Here's number 7.
If the landlord intends to do substantial renovations to the building.
Okay, that's it.
Yep. So
I
you
can put my
can't just
fingers away.
you can put your fingers away. Yes.
Okay.
So you can't just say I don't like you. You're out. You have to have an actual valid reason. The rule is if you're going to do a renovation, a major renovation, you have to give the tenant 365 days, and you cannot increase the rent during that time.
How can you get 365 days notice?
That's
You have
a
to
lot
know
of
a
money.
year in advance you need to do a renovation. It doesn't always work that way.
Okay, so when you're giving notice to a tenant that they're going to have to leave, in the case of a periodic or one of these above, the notice must be in writing. It must have the termination date. It must be signed by the person giving their notice or that person's agent, property manager. It must give the address of the president of the premises, and it has to give the reason for the termination.
So you have to document everything.
Yes. Now, there are situations where you don't necessarily have to give that amount of notice. The one is called a substantial breach, and the most common substantial breach is failure to receive your rent.
Mm-hmm.
So then you give 14 days notice. In that case, you still have to have the reason, everything I just said, but you also have to put on the note that if they do pay their rent within the 14 days, then the order is null or the notice is null and void. And if it becomes an ongoing problem, then you have to take it to the residential tenancy dispute.
We all talked about that in eviction, so we're not going to go over that again.
We don't need to. Yeah, that's the most common cause for substantial breach. Now, the other one is actually it's 24 hours notice, and that's if there's a threat of violence or if there's damage being done to the property. And in that case, you can give a 24-hour notice. The tenant does have, if after the 24 hours notice the tenant doesn't leave, you have 10 days in which to get a order to have them evicted, and if you don't act on that notice in 10 days, then it's likely 24-hour notice is going to happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're going to. If
Yeah.
someone's threatening you, you're not going to say, "Oh, I'll wait 10
Well,
days."
yeah, it's okay now.
If a tenant objects to a substantial breach complaint, then it goes to a residential tenancy right away. Well, you take it there right away and dispute it but basically, if they object, then the order, the termination is null and void.
Okay, so that's it.
Yeah.
That's what we have for you today. We've talked about periodic tenancies, which have all kinds of rules, fixed-term tenancies, and the exceptions.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. It's a beautiful night. It's Friday, and I hope that you have a wonderful weekend and you get to get out and enjoy some of the weather.
I'm going to enjoy the weather while I go and show off some of our properties today.
Because that's what we do.
When we're not doing this.
We're looking for quality tenants.
For
residential properties.
Landowners or property owners. Yes, that's what it is.
Okay, have a good night and a good weekend.
Bye for now.